I would like to tell you a story about the Xursans. The dream of the Xursans began with the Grand Viridian wizard, Alea Nemeseana. Alea was a prodigy in genetic engineering, creating several successful Praetorian assignments that later saw use in the Third Viridian-Zabar War to a great extent. Using her newfound popularity within the Viridian government, she began to push for her own ideology through her projects. You see, Alea had some interesting ideals. She pushed for the entire society of Viridia to be rewritten on a genetic level, calling for a new evolutionary stage to be achieved through force, if necessary. However, Alea would not have to go to such lengths, as she would achieve her dream 10 years later in 2687 EA, in the form of a proposal to the head of the IDO to create the Xursans, an entirely new race of humanoids that she promised would far exceed every other race in every measurable metric. She was approved and given Delta funding. This was most likely due to the fact that at the time the Third Viridian-Zabar War was raging. But the Viridians were winning, managing to push them off the war-torn but fertile lands of Zesco. If everything went to plan, Alea would use these newly conquered lands as a massive testing ground for the Xursans. After 20 years of development, Alea finally finished what she called the final evolution of mankind, akin to gods. Her final journal entry on the project reads as follows. Perfection is the only word I can use to describe these specimens, second only to the gods themselves. This is what it must feel like to be a mother, to give birth to something far greater than yourself. Now all that's left to do is to return to Xursa itself, so that they may take their proper place among the gods. The Xursan were terrifying. An average specimen usually clocked in at over 7 feet tall, exhibited muscle strength several hundred times that of an average human, and their skin was replaced with overlapping bone plates that were nearly indestructible. Despite this, however, they were extremely lightweight, usually only weighing about 150 pounds. Their legs are replaced with a digigrade structure, and in both their arms or legs are grooves that are home to a total of 4 extra omnidirectional limbs covered in fully controllable bone plates, adding to the defensive capabilities of this beast. Their intelligence was unmatched, the IQ of the average individual ranging from 200 to 230. Alea loved her creations like a mother loves her child, so when she presented her final versions of the Xursans to the head of the IDO, with the hope being that she would get clearance to field test her project, she was devastated when she was told instead that her project was cancelled. Things have changed over the 20 years. The cocky Viridians had let their lines thin, allowing the Zalbar horde to push them back, causing untold casualties, and more importantly for the Empire, monetary losses. Several projects at the IDO were cancelled, including Alea's. She was ordered to torch any remaining specimens and put her research into the Singularity. She, however, had different plans. She would not let the last 20 years of her life go to waste because of incompetent generals. She would show the Empire what happens when you cornered a mother. On the 7th day of the first Domas, Terra 2700 EA, a fire broke out in the level 4 of the IDO research lab. The fire raged for 3 hours before it was extinguished, destroying 3 nearby laboratories that were, luckily, uninhabited. With the exception of one, the laboratory of Alea Nemeseana, where 2 charred bodies were recovered. Upon a thorough investigation, Alea's journal was recovered from her personal safe, where she wrote this final entry. Heathens, all of you. The strive for progress was just a guise to fuel your military-industrial complex. You never cared about science. You never cared about improving the lives of the populace around you. You never have and never will have the resolve to do what is necessary to progress this society. So when you find this safe among the rubble of the bottom 4 layers of the IDO, know that it was Alea Nemeseana and Aria Nemeseana who truly believe in progress at any cost. It would seem that the fire was intended to trigger a chemical chain reaction that was supposed to explode and destroy the underground base of the mountain and of the IDO, potentially causing the entire mountain to come down upon them. Authorities chalked it up to an extreme case of science fever and began cleanup. This is, of course, not what happened. Azalea staged her death so that she could flee from Verdia, and so that she could continue to cultivate her new race, waiting for this forever war to end. The war finally ended in 2765 EA, with the two powers signing an imperial no-contact order, abandoning the war-torn continent of Izesco to heal from centuries of war, where the Xursans of Verdia took their hold and worked towards returning to their true home.